Good afternoon, everyone. So today I'm going to discuss how an upcoming court decision will affect the safety and security of all of our elections for decades to come. But first, I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. So in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, GOP poll watchers alleged that they were not given meaningful access to observe the counting of the ballots. They were pushed over 20 feet back. They weren't able to be close enough to detect any irregularities as these votes were being counted. They couldn't see postmark dates on the envelopes. They couldn't see names. They couldn't see addresses. They couldn't see signatures. So the Trump campaign filed a lawsuit in which they won. The court ruled in their favor, and the courts said that GOP poll watchers should be allowed to observe the counting of the ballots within 6 feet. This was dubbed meaningful access. GOP poll watchers should be allowed within 6 feet to observe the counting of the ballots. So the Trump campaign showed up at the convention center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where the ballots continued to be counted. And they showed up with court order in hand, and they showed the officials, we should be allowed within 6 feet to observe the counting of the ballots. Democrats outright defied the court order. They still did not allow GOP poll workers within the 6 feet mandated on the court order. They were still pushed back over 20 feet, and we can only imagine why. So what is the remedy for this? What is the penalty for defying the court order? What are the different options that we have? Can we go back and identify how many ballots were counted without GOP poll watchers given meaningful access and then review those ballots? We're talking about 450,000 ballots. That's enough ballots to overturn the state from blue to red. But the problem is, even if we were to go back and try to verify the authenticity of these ballots, the envelopes have already been removed and they've been discarded, so you're just left with naked ballots. So then it comes down to, well, do we count these ballots or do we not count them? Well, if we count these ballots, that's going to set precedent in all of our future elections. And ask yourself this question: what is to stop any political party in the future from weaponizing this as a strategy to deny observers from the opposite political party to have meaningful access to be able to observe the counting of the ballots, if this is ruled that all of these ballots still count? What would stop Democrats? What would stop Republicans in every future election for not letting their political opponents watch the counting of the ballots? The safety and security of all of our future elections would be compromised. How could we ensure that any of our future elections would be credible, would be safe, would be free of fraud, would be free of any irregularities, if your political opponents would not be granted meaningful access to observe the counting of the ballots? We would not be able to ensure the safety and security. We would not feel comfortable that any of our elections moving forward would be credible if votes were seemingly counted in darkness, as your political opponents were pushed 20 feet or more back. So then what should happen? Well, I think these ballots should be invalidated. And many people might push back and say, but those ballots could be legitimate. You could be throwing out legitimate ballots. Yes, I agree. Some of those ballots could be legitimate. But how do we verify that? We can't. There was a window of opportunity that we had to detect irregularities in these ballots, and that was with observation as the envelopes were being removed, as the ballots were being removed from the envelopes and passing through the machine. And since that did not occur, we can't go back in time. We can't reconstruct this. There's no way we can go back in time and verify the authenticity of these ballots. Therefore, they should not be counted. And think about the message that this would send to both political parties for upcoming elections. If you play any games, if you try to deny your political opponents meaningful access to observe the counting of the ballots, those votes will be disqualified. Do you think any political party is going to engage in these type of partisan games and this type of nonsense if they know that the penalty for not allowing your political opponents meaningful access to be able to watch the counting of the ballots would be that those ballots would be invalidated? Of course not. No political party is going to engage in those types of games. But if the court ruling goes in the other direction, And essentially, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if you allow your political opponents meaningful access to observe the counting of the ballots. If that doesn't matter, then this will be weaponized by one or both parties, whichever one wants to use it, whichever one wants to use it to a more extreme degree. Our elections will never be secure again. And that's why the court ruling will be so important, which will determine the safety and security of all of our future elections. That's my video. Hope you like it. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe, and I will see you all next time.